Welcome. Shalom, Israel. Shalom, Hebrew. This is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. I.S.U.P.K is run today by Commanding General YAHANNA, the only man with the rank and the authority to be the leader of the nation at this time. I want to say Yahweh Basham, Yahweh Shai Barakatam to my brothers, Yahweh Shamar Alatan Basham, Yahweh Shai to my sisters. All right, today is a special day. Wednesday night law class, but it's the opening of the Feast of Dedication. Now, this was a day of celebration that was added to our calendar, and it marks a victory in arresting ourselves, our nation, our temple from the heathens through warfare and going back to the Most High through warfare. So, Shalom, Hebrew. Shalom, brother. All right, and this victory was right in the time of the Grecian captivity, right when Greece thought that, it's their time to rule the world. But it also marks the beginning of, I think it was Daniel's vision of that great statue, with the Grecians coming down to the Romans, and started with Babylon. The Grecians, the Romans come all the way down until now. So that period of time when we were in captivity under the Grecians, you wonder why, because the Grecian captivity was similar to the Romans, but we were given victory in the time of the Grecians. But the Most High didn't give us victory in the time of the Romans, because by that time, Christ was already here. In the time of the Grecians, the Romans wasn't here. Sorry. In the time of the Grecians, Christ wasn't, what do I call it now? Christ, the birth of Christ and his death and resurrection didn't happen yet. And as you know, the Most High always ensure that whatever is prophesied comes to fulfill. So it did not allow us to lose the kingdom at that time. However, by the time of the Romans that committed so much sin again, that the Most High just say, you know what, go on, go ahead. Most High just say, you know what, go on in, you can go in captivity. You can go now. Oh my God, how can I get back to the chat? Tech savvy? That ain't me. Come here. Okay. All right. You want to read for me? First Maccabees 4. I'm going to read the entire chapter. So today is our celebration of that period in time when we were given victory once more over our enemies. The Most High has done it so many times, give us victory over our enemies. But this one, the temple was rededicated. You know why the temple was rededicated? Because one, the altar had to be pulled down. Remember what the Grecians did? They sacrificed what? Pigs.
Unclean things on the altar.
They sacrificed unclean things on our altar. So the brothers pull down, they remove the stones, the altar stones, take them out, put different stones, and rededicated the temple. The temple was, the altar was desecrated. Very. Can read? Whoops, I can do this. All right. First Maccabees 4. Then took Georgias 5,000 footmen. Georgias was the enemy's, the commander of our enemy's troops at the time. Georgias took 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen. 1,000 horsemen. And these men and horses were warriors, and removed out of the camp by night. I'll pick up 2.
Answer. First Maccabees 4 verse 2. To the end he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews and smite them suddenly, and the men of the fortress were his guides. Now when Judas heard thereof, he himself removed, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army which was at Emmaus. Verse 4, while as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. In the mean season came Georgias by night into the camp of Judas, and when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains.
All right, so this, he then know what he did was he intended to, all right, go up to 1, tell you what was his intention. His intention was to rush upon the Judas camp. Right. These are the warriors, So he wanted to surprise them, give them a surprise attack. Right. And smite them suddenly. So the men of the fortress was his guide to the camp. But the news reached Judah that these men, valiant men, these are men who eat, sleep, think, and thought warfare at all times. These enemies. So, Judas, after he heard, he said, we're going to meet them at Emmaus. So he went, he left the camp. So when in the mean season came Georgias by night into the camp of Judas. And when he found no man there, so Judas and his men removed from the camp. he sought them, but he thought that Judas and his men heard him coming and flee, and went into the mountain. For he said, these fellows flee from us. So in other words, now, think of you going up against some of these warriors now. Warriors now was those who are called the military. And they come out, say they're going to give you a surprise attack. In their mind, you're soft open. It's the same thing here. That's why I said these fellows flee from us. You never think that. I wonder if they were coming, if they were trying to catch us off guard in the same way that we were trying to catch them off guard. That didn't cross his mind. Right? All right, so verse 6, right?
But as soon as it was day, Judas showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. And they saw the camp of the heathen, that it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were expert of war.
All right, there it is. These men that they were going up with were warriors, trained warriors. These were experts of war. Verse 8.
Then said Judas to the men that were with him, fear ye not their multitude, neither be ye afraid of their assault. Remember.
All right, don't be afraid of them. Don't afraid of them, boy. Don't afraid of them enough man where you see there, the multitude where you see there. Neither be afraid of the facts of them of their assault, what they can do. Because obviously they had weapons. Remember, verse 9.
Verse 9. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea when Pharaoh pursued them with an army.
All right. So he was reminding his men of that victory over the Egyptians. Continue.
Now therefore let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure the Lord will have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day.
All right. So this is all the time. This is all the most I like when Israel call on him. Find your back against the wall. Don't be afraid to put your hand up in the air and cry out unto him. Even in your battles, your personal battles that you are having at work, at home, whatever it is. Eviction, America, the eviction notice is ringing out now. You find yourself in a situation, don't be afraid to put your hand up in heaven and cry unto God. All these things that we are going through is still warfare.
Counsel.
Yeah. How you think that they find so many billions of dollars for vaccine, but at the same time they can't appease your landlord either with the law, let them wait a little longer, or grant some more stimulus, grant it towards paying for rent. But no, they find eviction because what? Who are the main ones to be evicted? Black, Hispanics, and natives. So don't be afraid to put your hand up in the air, just like how Maccabees did it, and cry unto heaven, because the Lord might have mercy upon us and remember the covenant of our fathers and destroy this host before our face this day. Verse 11.
That so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivereth and saveth Israel.
Right. So when these happen, this is what this is how the Edens know that, yeah, must God do it, because guess what? These men who they went up against are some strong military men, but they were given victory over them, so that must be God. That's why it's saying, so the Edens know that there is one who delivered and saved Israel, right? So you find yourself in these situations greater than you, and you, don't be afraid, cry out. Don't cry to that no politician you're crying to. You cry to the Most High first. Then the Most High now would either touch Pharaoh's heart or do what he has to do. All right, verse 1.
Verse
12.
12. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle, but they that were with Judah sounded their trumpets. So they joined battle, and the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain.
All right, so then when they say Judas man, now they come and say, yeah, you got them now. But these men now don't sound the trumpet. Men come from behind, men come from side, come join in battle. Men come from all about. So they get discomfited, they get, confused, not knowing what to do next. What next? What next? Men coming from all about, attacking our men, killing them. So they had to flee. This is how the Most High give us victory. Without we getting weapons like the enemy. Continue.
Howbeit all the hindmost of them were slain with the sword.
All right, you know what I mean by hindmost of them? Those that were more in the back. They were attacking Judas this way now. So the men that came from the back now kill those who were behind. So you attacking this way and you hear that your men behind you, you hear your men behind you crying out for help. What to do? You turn around now, these men come close and you start killing your men here. That's how they were discomfited. Continue.
For they pursued them with Gazera and
Unto Gazera.
For they pursued them unto Gazera.
I wonder if it's the same Gaza today. Nah, they weren't home. They were out fighting the enemy. And unto
the plains of Idumea.
Idumea is where? Edom. Yeah, that's the Grecian name, I think, for Edom. Continue.
And Azotus and Jamnia.
Don't know those ones are where.
So that there were slain of them upon a 3,000 men.
So you lose 3,000 men in one battle. That's every loss, isn't it? Yeah, man, every loss that. 16.
This done, Judas returned again with his host from pursuing them, and said to the people, be not greedy of the spoil, inasmuch as there is a battle before us.
All right, he's saying, there is other battles before us. So, because remember, Georgia took some of the men and went, So then he came up on the camp now, and Georgia's other camp. They defeated these men, they run away. There were great spoils there. You know what are the spoils?
All the riches.
All the riches that they came with. They came with gold, maybe gold chain, gold this, that, precious stones. Because one of the things, in war in those days, when you defeat the enemy, what happened? What they do with those who they capture? Sell them as slaves. Yeah. So they themselves were soldiers. Yeah, they carry things to buy back things from other soldiers, carry things that they take away from their enemies. They had them with them still. right? So when they flee, they leave everything behind. Continue.
And it said, verse 17, and said to the people, be not greedy of the spoil, inasmuch as there is a battle before us, and Georgias and his host are here by us in the mountain, but stand ye now against our enemies, and overcome them, and after this ye may boldly take the spoils.
Exactly. So so you know that the Most High was with Judas. Judas didn't go to any military college, but he understand warfare.
Concept.
How come? Yeah. Look at the Maroons. Same Benjamites, out here defeated the British Army. Which college, war college they went to? No, but they use Sykes. Use their mind. The Most High was obviously with them during the battles. Yeah.
And it could be a case where they would have learned the warfare in the past. So I hope especially in the like it was in the first and they were fighting like that.
Oh, the
It's a
Maroons.
history of how they live, how they walk, all the time.
Oh, Maroons are the Judas.
The Maroons,
The Maroons out there. Well, yes, because they have been fighting from the time of the Spanish War. The first set of Maroons out here were those who were slaves under Spanish, who were given freedom to end the Spanish fight. Spanish lost the war, so they decided that they weren't going to defend their freedom because the British won now, so we don't want to go back under slave. So they defended their freedom. Here now, the Most High gave Judas the wisdom to defend the freedom of the nation. But you know what happened from here to the time when Christ came? If you read all of Maccabees, you can realize how we went under the Romans. Because right in Judas' time, after Judas died and Judas' brothers who took over died, the Grecians didn't give up. So they went and befriend the Romans to keep off the Grecians. And then the Romans came in and took over. Yeah. Continue reading.
Verse 19. As Judas was yet speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain, who, when they perceived that the Jews had put their host to flight and were burning the tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was done. When wherefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid. And
No, these were the men, the trained men who Georgia took with it.
Mhm.
And they, when they look up in the mountains, they see some of them looking out down to the place. Like they say, oh, there they are. But when they look and realize it's not their men that is there, but it is the enemies now came, took over, beat, killed most of your men, fire burning, the burning thing. So they now got to catch their afraid. They became afraid. All right, what verse was that?
that was verse 21.
All right, read 21 again.
When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid.
Right, so they get afraid now. And seeing,
And seeing also the hosts of Judas in the plain ready to fight, they fled everyone into the land of strangers.
all right, so then just flee to the lands around them where they were. Run
Then,
for their lives.
verse
Mhm.
23, then Judas returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver and blue silk.
So the battle is now over. So this is the time now you take the spoil. Can't be rushing after spoils while you're fighting. Right, so look at the things they got. Much gold, much silver, blue silk, you know what that is? Ever sleep on a silk sheet? These are cloth to make things. Purple, yeah, it's blue and purple and great riches. So you wonder how these men came to fight and come with so many riches. Yeah, because they were warriors. They go from country to country conquering, so they get things.
Verse 24. After this they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised the Lord in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endured forever.
All right, so the songs of Thanksgiving, we love sing, cut tune when things go nice. Even when it goes bad, like when Gilbert destroy, when I sing about Wild Wild Gilbert, you remember that? And other things. So you can just imagine the amount of song, the amount of tune that was cut at that time. Um,
Verse 25.
yeah.
Thus Israel had a great deliverance that day. Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias, which what had happened.
Right, so then go back to them top general now and tell him what going.
Who, when he heard thereof, was confounded and discouraged, because neither such things as he would were done unto Israel, nor such things as the king commanded him were come to pass.
Now the things that the king tells him, go and do this unto these people. Nothing get done. You lose most of your army. You lose the riches that was with them. How are you going to face back the king now? What are you going to tell the king? I'd find himself in prison or lose him head. Verse
28. The next year, therefore, following Lysias gathered together 80,000 choice men of foot.
So one score is how much? 20. But 3 scores would be?
60.
And it's 3,000, that would be 60,000. That's a large army. 60,000 choice men of these are infantry, foot warriors, infantry. And
5 horsemen.
5,000
horsemen.
And 5,000 cavalry. That
he might subdue them.
I didn't give up on this. I said, going back, coming back stronger this time. That is what, 65,000 men. Yep. Verse 1.
Verse 29. So they came into Idumea and pitched their tents at Bethsura.
All right, so Idumea was where? Right, the Edomites. So you see, the Grecians were the Edomites by then. Same people them. So they use their own country now. Like if Europe if Europe was to invade another country, they use their closest allies to that country that they want to invade. Right. So they obviously, see why we can't like them. We can't like them. They're always with our enemies. Pitch their tent at Bethsura and
Judas met them with 10,000 men.
So this is 65,000 against 10,000. All right. And when?
Verse 30. And when he saw that mighty army, he prayed and said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Israel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of thy servant David, and gavest the host of strangers into the hands of Jonathan the son of Saul, and his armor bearer.
Right.
Shut up this army in the hand of thy people Israel, and let them be confounded in their power and horsemen. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Verse 33, cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving.
Who was he speaking to? He was praying.
He was praying to the Most High.
He was praying to?
To the Most High.
To the Most High. To do what?
To deliver the enemies into their hands.
To do what? To sing and dance and to what the Christians. Well, I know what the Christians do. Sing, you know, you come sing and hold hands and dance and sing Kumbaya, my Lord, or sing, what do they call it? Some other give me a lovely Christian song.
I go praise and worship.
I go to praise and worship with the enemies, as the church teaching us to do. No, they were asking the Most High to deliver these men to them so that we can kill them. This was warfare. This was war. This was battle. This was not having good thoughts to your enemies and thinking how you can convert them and make them your friends. That's not what this was about. He prayed, where is it? 33. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee. Cast them down with the sword of those. How you show love to God? How you show love to the Most High?
By keeping his law, statutes, and commandments.
By keeping his law, statutes, and commandments. So he was asking the Most High to deliver these men to be killed by those who keep his laws, statutes, and commandments. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving. All right. So this is how America Thanksgiving come in. They reverse it. Reverse it at us. We were the ones who defeat our enemy and have a Thanksgiving. Now they now bust our ass and give Thanksgiving. All right, so this is not a friendly thing. This is not friendly fire. This is not holding hands and singing and having any praise and worship here. This is real blood spilling and asking the Most High to let you kill your enemies. Why if the Most High is the way that the Christians are saying, why you think they wouldn't pray and say, oh my Lord, give them a change? The Christian love to like this. And pray. Give them a change of heart. Let them move away from your people. All the prayer warriors. What you think why Israel carry out the prayer warriors? Because not Nagasa. What the man then come out with? Warriors, not prayer warrior. Man who wield swords. Right? So this is why we now need to seriously come back to loving the Most High, so that the Most High can deliver our enemies into the hands of them that love him. This is why we need to keep back his commandments, so that Christ can fight the battle, give us the victory again, and we move away from all these kind of hell that we're in. Because many of our people being in hell, believing that things are going for me. not realizing that the thing that is going on for you is at the destruction of your own people. Most people don't look at that, you know. And then they say, man, if dead, make man live. Yes, but it's your enemies who die, not the enemies, that you have within your people, but those other nations that come up against you. Those are the ones who die to make you live. Just like Judas Maccabeus did right here. Because if the enemies got victory over them, then they would have gone into ardent slavery. They wouldn't have just been tributaries, but they would have gone into ardent slavery. Verse?
Continue. Verse 34.
Read 33. Start from go back to 33.
Verse 33. Cast them down with the sword of them that love thee, and let all those that know thy name praise thee with thanksgiving.
Okay.
So they joined battle, and there were slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Even before them were they slain. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight.
Now imagine. What we say in Bible? What do we say? 10,000 shall do what?
One shall chase 1,000, and two shall put 10,000.
All right. So 10,000, so what? 10,000 put 65,000 to flight. Well, 60,000 because we killed 5,000. We converted 5,000. Oh, I suppose they were good Christians lying on the ground there. Eh? Yeah, now they are in Christianity, but they're laying prostrate, praising, I suppose. La, they were dead at the hands of us, the Israelites. They weren't they weren't our friends after we didn't put them to flight and converted them. We wanted to kill them. And it would have been good if all 65,000 would have stand and fight, so we get to kill all 65,000. But 60,000 run. And they were trained men. That's how the Most High worked. Because what? Angels were there fighting with these brothers. So maybe when they looked, they saw more than what was really there. Continue.
Verse 35, when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antiochia, and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he purposed to come again into Judea.
Now this must be a Edomite. Lysias must be a Edomite. But guess what? He find himself between a rock and a hard place because what? He's still alive, cannot go back to the king with nothing. He had to go back with the king with something, you know. Can't go back just so with nothing. So he's between a rock and a hard place. So what he do now? All right, they put 65,000 to fly. I'm going to gather more than what you put to flight. He proposed to come again into Judea. Right, so I want to come again. That's one of 36.
Verse 36, then when Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited.
Hold on, 36, then said.
Verse 36, then said Judas and his brethren, behold, our enemies are discomfited. Let us go up to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Verse 37, upon this all the host assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest.
So this was what happening now. things gone to the dogs, man.
Or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priests' chambers pulled down. They rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads.
All right, so they were surprised to see. So, what happened probably happened before their generation. Because obviously they didn't know that these things happen. They saw the sanctuary desolate, the altar profane, gates burned up, shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest or in one of the mountains, yea, and the priest chambers pulled down. So everything mashed up. When they saw this, they tore their clothes and cried and threw ashes on their head. This was how Israel mourned. Put yourself in a desolate state and cry unto God.
Verse 40, and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary.
So the fortress is what? These are some they build some areas like tower. Then all them sing about all these things in church and I don't even want names. So they build some things like tower, which the men would go up into, and you can get a wide view, knowing who is approaching and so on and so forth. So you see, we had to have that where the temple was, watching out, because this was how the Edens was around us. And now that they have us within their arms, we want to sing, want to praise and worship with them, eh?
Yeah.
These are people who want to see you dead. The only reason why they haven't gotten rid of us is because we breed so much. We are so plentiful in number. Just like the Most I said, that God blessing us like the star, to be like the star of heaven and the sand of the seashore. If that was the case, they would have wiped us out. Just like how they have done countless other nations, wiped them out.
Verse 42.
Mm-hmm.
So he chose, verse 42, so he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place.
Mm-hmm.
And when, as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, they thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down.
All right, so they were contemplating, saying, why should we keep the altar? Maybe some were saying, maybe we should just wash it off. And they said, no, sir. Next thing it can be a reproach unto us in a while, a couple of years from now. So it's best if we pull it down. So that's what they did. Just start it, man. Just finish it. Where are you? Right, 46.
Verse 46.
No, 45. Go to
Verse
45.
45. They thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it, wherefore they pulled it down.
Continue.
And laid up the stones in the mountains of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. Then they took whole stones, according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former, and made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts.
You know what I mean by they hallowed the court?
Made holy again.
Right, separate, right.
They, verse 49, they made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. Verse 50, and upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table and spread out the veils and finished all the works which they had begun to make.
All right, so then do the table setting. The table must always be set in the temple, you know. Priest's job there. So they're rebuilding the temple now, putting back things together. As things gone. That's what? 50?
Verse 52. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month.
So the 25th day of the 9th month, that's today, sundown.
Which is called the month Kaslu, in the 148th year. They rose up betimes in the morning. And
you see? Oh, what that 148 year came up. Where that counting come from? That was all along them behind the people and the Grecian. It wasn't a 20-year captivity. That's why the temple had become bushy and all that. Because they came and they destroyed it. 148 year. This is the Grecian calendar now, you know, because we would have gone from Moses coming counting, we gone way past 140 years. Just like how much years we do around here so now? 400 under who? The Romans. So we can say in the 400th year, being under the Romans, but them smart, them count, they have been counting this 2000, they've been counting from Christ, you know. Right. So, because they have been the ones who have been ruling for so much years and gone, 2000 years of ruling. Anyway, we're going further than that.
Verse 53, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made.
Right, so this was how Hachaanaca first began. Feast of the dedication. So them set up the temple and something, and then on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called Month Katlu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. So this new altar now comes into place and dedication continue. It was an 8-day celebration. 51:4.
Verse 54. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and cythons and harps and cymbals.
So all different kind of musical instruments with singing took place at the dedication. Right. No dirty whining, no what the other one name? No dirty whining, no 6:30. Good decent singing and dancing. No twerking like there was ladies twerking in the restaurants. No twerking was carried on there. Just nice, clean worshiping and praising the God of heaven. Continue.
Verse 55. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success.
Right. So it's just because they won those battles why they were able to do this. They couldn't have gone and touched the temple while the enemies were so strong militarily within Israel. So they had to get rid of that occupying force. Understand warfare.
Uh,
Continue.
and so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise.
Now this is an important part when it comes to praising the Most High. You see, it says with gladness. You ever see some people do some things and that kill you with murmuring?
The concert.
Like you're supposed to get up every morning and are supposed to do the sacrifice. And I can't bother to go to them. I'm bother with this thing, you know. The Most High does not like that. Must be happy to do what you are given to do. So they did it with gladness. These things are not written for the sake of just writing them in. It is written for us to go through it with a fine tooth comb
Concert.
and see what really happened and put it in your life. That's how the Holy Spirit teach you about all things in the end here. You know. So they were serving the Most High without the murmurings right here, like what we did in the wilderness. They did it with gladness. Continue.
Verse 57. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hung the doors upon them.
So you see, from also these battles that they won and got great riches, just like it says, they were able to do all these things for the temple. Give it back. This how you give it back to God. You decorate what we have now is schools. What you see how the brothers decorate the schools.
Concert.
Yeah, that's giving back to you to your the nation, giving back to the Most High. Yeah, let it be a praise, a holy place, a place that is hallowed. When you go in there, you don't feel the same way like when you're at home or outside. Right. So this is why they put up gold and other things. When you're in the temple, you must feel like you're in a separate place, a holy place. All right, continue.
Thus was there very great gladness among the people. For
Repeat, read that part again.
thus was there very great gladness among the people.
Mm-hmm.
For that the reproach of the heathen was put away.
The reproach of the what?
Heathen was put away.
All right. So the reproach of the heathen, how was it converted? They were now good heathens. Eh? They were now good heathens. Eh? Continue.
Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year, by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
So at this time, we should not be celebrating Hachaanaca with straight face, and it must be done with gladness. And we today should be doing it with a double portion of gladness.
Cause
You're going to fast food, you ask for 2 servings of fries.
double one.
You're done a double whopper. Well, tell you what, when you when you when you celebrating Hachaanaca as an Israelite, ask the Most High for a double portion of gladness. Why? It was victory in Maccabeus time, and today, 400 years after slavery, we are able to do it again.
God.
When you look at the history of slavery and what we have been through, what you saw then, if you were in that, you saw nothing but destruction. Because when I listen to the songs that the slaves used to sing, freedom to them was when you die. Yes, that I may be free with my Lord. That's how they saw it. That is when they die. But now, we're able to have a feast and remember what our brothers, our Benjamite forefathers did for the nation of Israel by killing the enemies with the sword of them that loved the Most High, those that who kept the Most High's commandment and did not celebrate Christmas, the white man's Thanksgiving, Easter, and those pagan holidays. And this time of the year, what we talk about Sunday, we talk about what? Name them?
Christmas.
Christmas was one. We talk about the Christmas. No, we talk about winter solstice.
The concert, the winter solstice.
And what else?
Giving credence.
Unitide.
Unitide.
4 things. One more that is celebrated at this time. Winter solstice and the feast of Saturnalia. Right. So we should not be involved in those things. Those that love the Most High, keep His commandment. Get rid of the enemies that is before you, preventing you from doing what you're supposed to do. That's what our warfare is about to be. Right?
Okay.
So Judas and his brethren got victory over the enemy so that they could rebuild the temple. Today, through the I.S.U.P.K, we have gotten victory over enemies again so that we can build schools and fish our brothers and sisters. We don't have a temple in Jerusalem again. What we have? We have what they call it in Christ's time? They said synagogues. And then after Christ, they call it church. Well, today we just call it school. Right? But these are places in which our Israelite brothers can come and learn the ways again, how to serve the Most High. Continue reading.
Verse 60. At that time also they builded up the Mount Sion with high walls and strong towers round about.
All right, so this was where the temple was, the Jerusalem area. So they built up back the wall, towers, and
Towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before.
no. Why you think they don't say, we're making good gates that the Gentiles can come in and come and serve the Most High? The Gentiles don't want to serve God. Christianity show you that. When the time when Europe was converting the entire world with Christianity, when they converted their own heathen people, their own pagan people, what did they do? They came in the church with the paganism.
Concert.
Mm-hmm. Because by the 21st of this month, the feast of Saturn and the feast of dedication and so on will begin. And you will find that the things that they do, like the Christmas tree at your workplace, putting them pixie gift under the Christmas tree, all these are practices of the heathens. Nothing to do with the Most High. So they have to build physical walls to keep the Gentiles out, that they should not tread, tread down the holy city again. Now, our own people have become Gentiles. So you have the whole Gentile behavior in your family. How you know, this was how Christ and all said, I don't think I come to bring peace in them. I come to bring a sword. Because now within that same family was gone to the way of the Gentile, he is going to pull out his person who was not his warrior, was not bent a knee to Baal. And this can cause rift in the family. Christ know that. So he said he did not come to bring peace, but a sword. Not that he wished that we would kill each other, but that's the price of separation. We have to be separating ourselves from our very own family, just so we can do what those who love God do, keep his commandments. All right, verse what now? 60. At that time also they builded up the Mount Zion with high walls and strong towers round about. These the Gentiles should come and tread it down as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it. Now, what we do with garrisons today? We use our garrisons to all vote for politicians. When we should have been building our schools and let it be like garrisons, holding holy places for the Most High. That's what we should be doing. And for fortified Bet Surah to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Can you believe it? Now these Idumeans, Idumea is the Greek name for Edom, for the Edomites. So these people, our people back then realized that they had to have a defense against the Edomites. Today we call them the white man, but they are the ones in the church to the side of the north, the important part, the important side in any room, the side of the north. That's where they build themselves. We accept it. We can't do. We don't want to do anything. Not that we can't do anything. Today the battle is not to take up sword like Maccabees did, but to just take up the Bible and do what it says. Yeah. You ain't going up against your enemies like we once did. It's much less hassle this time around. All you have to do, stop eating pork, stop eating shrimp, crab, lobster. What they call it, the other one there again, oyster. Stop eating these unclean food. Stop doing unholy things and come back to your Father so that Christ may fight the war. All right, we're going to look and you're going to see what in chapter 5, you're going to see what the enemies seek to do. Where is it? Check that bottom of water is running in there or something. Chapter 5. The enemies of Israel never give up. Why? Because they have seen riches in you and they have gained. They see the benefit of not giving up. Okay, we're going to read part of my word. Where's so much paper come from? We're going in, if you ever know what that sounds like, we're going into chapter 5. I didn't do it. Chapter 5.
First Maccabees chapter 5 and verse 1. Now when the nations round about heard that the altar was built and the sanctuary renewed as before.
All right, so the nations now, this is talking about what?
Nations of the nation.
Exactly, like in them as nation. Yeah. Ammonites, the Moabites, the Ishmaelites, Edomites, the Africans, those that were around about Israel then. They did what? When the nation heard,
displeased them very much.
When the nation heard that the altar was built and the sanctuary renewed as before, ooh, they can't keep their heels. So now you see why they keep pushing these things on you. Shrimp, they want to have shrimp in a cost, keep the cost where you can always buy. Ham, they might reserve ham for the wealthy, but pork is available. And so is bacon and the other one name, sausage. Sausage expensive too. But they know to keep the unclean foods in your grasp. You can't afford all of that. I'm sure you can afford a tin of mackerel. Yeah, because they don't. This is what it displeases them when Israel served the Most High the right way. All right, verse 2.
Verse 2. Wherefore they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob, and was among them. And thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people.
All right, what this is saying? Huh? These nations, when they heard what was happening at Jerusalem, what they did, they turned on the Israelites that was within their country. The Israelites that was within their boundaries. It's like Black Americans gain victory in America and take over the country. And what they start doing to black people outside of America now, going against it. They start to kill out those in Europe, Caribbean, and so on and so forth. This was what was happening. They turned on the Israelites that was in their nation. Because what? Same thing like you have today. Black man no have nothing. And what they did was to free themselves and took over back their country. What, they don't have the right to do that? I'm sure they do. I'm sure we do. Continue reading.
Verse 3. Then Judah fought against the children of Esau in Idumea at Arabatime, because they besieged Gilead, and he gave them a great overthrow and abated their courage.
Gave them a great bust their ass. So we have bust their asses before. And we are going to do it again. He abated their courage and took their spoils. Beat them up and take what they have. Hmm? Yeah. That's a bad man. That's a good man. Verse what? 4?
Verse 4. Also he remembered the injury of the children of Bean.
What?
Bean, or Bian,
All right.
who had been a snare and an offense unto the people, in that they lay in wait for them in the waves.
Oh, so this was a place named B. So the Persians have been now whenever battle and they try to escape and go through their country, through their way, they lay wait, ambush those who are escaping. That is how much these nations hate you, know. So all of a sudden, come tell me about we're gonna hold lands and sing and praise God together and so on. But I'm lying. All right, continue.
Verse 5. He shut them up therefore in the towers, and encamped against them, and destroyed them utterly.
All right, what I mean by destroying them utterly? Make sure none escape. Kill them out. Yeah?
And burned the towers of that place with fire, and all that were therein. Verse 6. Afterward he passed over to the children of Ammon, where he found a mighty power and much people, with Timotheus their captain.
All right, so Ammon was who? Japanese man.
Japanese.
Yeah, man. So even the Japanese had to bust their ass too. Continue.
Verse 7. So he fought many battles with them, till at length they were discomfited before him, and he smote them. And when he had taken Jazer with the towns belonging thereto, he returned into Judea. Verse 9. Then the heathen that were at Gilead assembled themselves together against the Israelites that were in their quarters.
You see what happened? You see what happened?
Conscience,
Okay.
to destroy them. But they fled to the fortress of Dathema.
All right, that this period of time was the Grecian captivity was after the time of would be after the time of the Persian captivity. During the Persian captivity, they wanted to kill us out again. Well, not again. They tried to kill us out. Remember? Story with Esther.
Conscience.
Yep. So yeah, this is a similar thing now. So in Esther time, we gain victory and we gain Purim. In Maccabeus time, we gain Hachaanaca. So we see them same white boys in our land celebrating our holidays. Many of them, I think they figured it out by now that it wasn't them that was in that land. Or so much of them wouldn't have, there's so much of them wouldn't have to be sunscreening now. Yeah, there will be sunscreen. They call it skin cancer, kill them off up there.
Verse 10. And send letters unto Judas and his brethren, the heathen that are round about us are assembled together against us to destroy us, and they are preparing to come and take the fortress whereunto we are fled. Timotheus being captain of their host. Verse 12. Come now therefore and deliver us from their hands, for many of us are slain. Yea, all our brethren that were in the places of Toby are put to death. Their wives and their children also they have carried away captives, and borne away their stuff, and they have destroyed their about 1,000 men. Verse 14. While these letters were yet reading, behold, there came other messengers from Galilee with their clothes rent, who reported on this wise, and said, They of Ptolemais and of Tyrus and Sidon, and all Galilee of the Gentiles are assembled together against us to consume us.
No. I think it's Revelation where it mentioned how after Christ give us the victory, how he will then go back and, paraphrasing, reap havoc on those who were what's the word? Oppressing us in their quarters. Go back and bust their ass. All 190 odd countries across the world that we were oppressed. And yet them out of these heathens who take over our way of life try to tell us God loves everybody. So you want to tell me that of all the 100 odd countries, not one can show us the love to say, leave them alone. Let them strive. No, they don't want that. The freedom that you should get is the one that the slaves had in mind when they die. Continue.
Verse 16. Now when Judas and the people heard these words, they assembled a great congregation together to consult what they should do for their brethren that were in trouble, and assaulted of them. Verse 17. Then said Judas unto Simon his brother, Choose thee out men, and go and deliver thy brethren that are in Galilee, for I and Jonathan my brother will go into the country of Gilead.
All right, so they fighting battles, regaining Jerusalem, regaining Judea, and now they have to think of freeing up the people, the Jewish people that are among these other nations. Because they know turn up the heat. Now you say why it's important. They say our God is nothing but wisdom. That's why his rescue mission for us with those chariots take place right across the road at the same time. Can you imagine if he should take Judah, rescue Judah, and leave the rest of us behind? Man, they would kill us. That's why it is the way it is. 18.
Verse 18. So, it's not 18. Verse 18. So he left Joseph, the son of Zacharias. Verse 18. So he left Joseph, the son of Zacharias, and Azarias, captains of the people, with the remnant of the host in Judah to keep it, unto whom he gave commandments, saying, Take ye the charge of this people, and see that ye make not war against the heathen until the time that we come again.
All right, so don't go bring war against Eden until we come back. That's what he's telling them, you know. All right? Continue.
Verse 20. Now unto Simon were given 3,000 men to go into Galilee, and unto Judas 8,000 men for the country of Galilee.
Huh?
Galilee.
Galad. Galahad.
Verse 21. Then went Simon into Galilee, where he fought many battles with the heathen, so that the heathen were discomfited by him. And he pursued them unto the gate of Ptolemais, and there were slain of the heathen about 3,000 men, whose spoils he took.
Boss their ass everywhere he goes and take what they had. Because he had to rebuild his people.
Verse 23. And those that were in Galilee and are in Arbatis, with their wives and their children, and all that they had, took he away with him, and brought them into Judea with great joy.
Right. Rescue them and carry them back home. Didn't beat the enemy and leave his people behind, so that they can turn on his people. Extraction time. Extraction mode. Same thing Christ will be doing. Whipping the blazing fire and this before him blaze the fire, come within chariot, take up his people. Then just as he leave, the fire will start. Verse
24. Judas Maccabeus also and his brother Jonathan went over Jordan and traveled 3 days' journey in the wilderness.
Right, in the desert.
Where they met with the Nabateans, who came unto them in a peaceable manner, and told them everything that had happened to their brethren in the land of Galilee, and how that many of them were shut up in Bosora and Bosor and Alima, Casphor, Makel, and Carnaim. All these cities are strong and great.
And yet your people shut up in them.
And that they were shut up in the rest of the cities of the country of Galilee, and that against tomorrow they had appointed to bring their host against the ports, and to take them and to destroy them all in one day. Verse 28. Hereupon Judas and his host turned suddenly by the way of the wilderness unto Bosora, and when he had won the city, he slew all the males with the edge of the sword, and took all their spoils, and burned the city with fire, from whence he removed by night, and went till he came to the fortress.
So you see what I'm doing? Kill all the male, kill the man then. That's how you know that we are at war in America.
Hunter.
That's what the police does. That's what the system does. Seek to kill black men. Killing the black male in every way they can. Right? Prison, police, homosexuality. And this is when you survive abortion. My father. Continue.
Verse 30. And betimes in the morning they looked up, and behold, There was an innumerable people bearing ladders and other engines of war to take the fortress, for they assaulted them. And Judas therefore saw that the battle was begun, and that the cry of the city went up to heaven, with trumpets and a great sound. He said unto his host, Fight this day for your brethren. So he went forth behind them.
Verse 1. Verse 1.
Verse 33 now.
Continue.
So he went forth behind them in their company, in 3 companies, who sounded their trumpets and cried with prayer. Then the host of Timotheus, knowing that it was Maccabeus, fled from him.
Now, this is the man, wasn't this the man who came back with a greater force? Now, this greater force that he went and got after a year and said, Maccabeus are come. What they did? They fled from him. Wherefore he smote them with a great slaughter, so that there were killed of them that day about 8,000. If Maccabeus not kill 1,000 man in a battle with the war, Maccabeus slew by the thousands. 35.
Verse 35. This done, Judas turned aside to Massa. And after he had assaulted it, he took and slew all the males therein, and received the spoils thereof, and burned it with fire.
Right, so take one more and then burn and leave. You're not get even if you go back and reveal nothing because what? Why did all these things? Tell me. Why did Maccabeus did all these things?
Why it took a while after he had murdered them?
Kill them out, take what they have, burned out the place.
Because when after taking their possessions and burning down, they had nothing to really. There was nothing there for them to rebuild.
No, Mister. Why him burn them down? Why he fight the war the way he did?
Why fought the war the way he did? To get rid of him totally.
Exactly. Oppression. He was removing the evil. That was who had the nerve to oppress the people of the Most High. That's what he was doing. Continue.
Verse 36. From thence went he and took Caspon, Maged, Bosor, and the other cities of the country of Galaad. After these things gathered Timotheus another host and encamped against Raphon beyond the brook. So Judas sent men to espy the host, who brought him word, saying, All the heathen that be round about us are assembled unto them, even a very great host.
All right, so all the heathens came up against us. They team up now. So you see, when you read about the battle, the final battle, the battle of Jehoshaphat, all the heathens coming against Christ. This is it.
Content.
The heathens never come on our side. So how are they on our side in the church? Because they are the ones to the side of the north. And they are the ones telling you that the laws are done away with because they know what happens when you keep the laws. They know. Yes.
So like you said, it's just like that one lady where I remember I was talking to a young lady who was a Christian. And we were talking about eating some things. Like the kind of meat and so forth. And I'm saying, they kept on saying, but what you eat? You don't eat this, you won't eat that. What you eat? according to the dietary laws of the Lord. Now the Christian lady looked at me and she was like, dietary laws and stuff like that. I said, yes. In the Old Testament, in Leviticus, you can find dietary laws. He said, oh, really, the Old Testament, that's the New Testament. So what I've realized from there is that under Christianity, they tell you that the laws are done away because they don't want you to acquaint yourself with the powers of keeping the laws and the commandments.
Well, if the laws are not done away, then they wouldn't be eating pork, right? So in order for them to eat pork, they have to say, the laws are done away.
Okay.
In order for them to build a criminal system, judicial system so strong against us, they have to say the laws are done away with. In order for them to carry out the work that they are carrying out in science and those fetus and stem cell research and all those things, they have to say the laws are done away with. So when a woman goes on about her child, she don't feel guilty. Yeah.
Like I said, each time I think about the system and Esau running this world, I've come to realize that he says walk you run.
Thank you.
Because everything that he want to coerce you to do is to your downfall.
Every single thing. If the white man tell you that he's going to build houses for you, tell him to give you the money. You build it yourself. Trust me, those walls are going to have something that you are allergic to. All right. I'm gonna start wrap up now. So take me down to '59. Take me down to verse 59.
That's it. Verse Maccabees 5 and verse 59. Then came Georgias and his men out of the city to fight against them.
Mhm.
And so it was that Joseph and Azarias were put to flight and pursued unto the borders of Judea. And there were slain that day of the people of Israel about 2,000 men. Thus was
Hold on. Verse 1.
verse 60.
And so it was that Joseph and Azarias were put to flight and pursued unto the borders of Judea. And there were slain that day of the people of Israel about 2,000 men. All right, I think this was caused by these two men who believed that they could go and make a name for themselves. Yes, go back to 56. No, 55.
Verse 55.
And you will understand why we lost 2,000 men.
Now what time as Judas and Jonathan were in the land of Galilee, and Simon his brother in Galilee before Ptolemais. Joseph the son of Zacharias and Azarias, captains of the garrisons, heard of the valiant acts and warlike deeds which they had done. Wherefore they said, let us also get us a name and go fight against the heathen that are round about.
No, after him don't tell them, so don't fight until
God.
I return. So them said, they want to figure out, oh, I'm going like is you alone can't fight.
God.
You can't go make a name for yourself too. So we are going to disobey your command. Well, disobeying command. And I usurp, disobey. They're going to now be disobedient because they want to make a name for themselves. Verse 1.
Verse 58. So when they had given charge unto the garrison that was with them, they went toward Jamnia. Then came Georgius and his men out of the city to fight against him. And so it was that Joseph and Azarias were put to flight and pursued unto the borders of Judea. And there were slain that day of the people of Israel about 2,000 men.
Now, Israel lost no battle since Jonathan took over. But you have to have someone who wanted to make a name for themselves. Well, here it is. They make a name for themselves anyway. They are in history, ain't it? One named Joseph and one named what? Azarias. So they make a name for themselves. But they are now in the hall of ill fame. Not in the hall of fame as Jonathan says, but in the hall of ill fame. Because you know, use them to teach command, the importance of command, following orders. And you as a captain over the nation, the great danger that you can cause to the nation when you do not follow command. All wrapped up in our Hachaanaca celebration, our regaining victory over our enemies. Continue.
Verse 61. Thus was there a great overthrow among the children of Israel, because they were not obedient unto Judas and his brethren, but thought to do some valiant act. Moreover, these men came not of the seed of those by whose hand deliverance was given unto Israel.
Meaning that, whose hand was it given unto Israel? The Maccabees, the brothers of Judas Maccabeus. So he was not of their seed. That was the line that the Most High chose to redeem Israel at that time. So who you, where you come from? Because you're an Israelite, the feast you can come jump the line. Most High doesn't work like that. So then they might talk in our church and then see some people and then some come up against them within the same church. All of them wrong, but you see that we don't tolerate such thing in the truth. You do it, you're out. So 2,000 man won't even get to die. You're gonna find yourself out before that happens. Continue. Continue.
Moreover, these men came out of the seed of those by whose hand deliverance was given unto Israel. Verse 63. Howbeit the man Judas and his brethren were greatly renowned in the sight of all Israel and of all the heathen, wheresoever their name was heard of, insomuch as the people assembled unto them with joyful acclamations. Afterwards went Judas forth with his brethren, and fought against the children of Esau in the land toward the south, where he smote Hebron and the towns thereof, and pulled down the fortress of it, and burned the towers thereof round about.
When I tell you, children of Esau, just a pain in the wrong places. 66.
From thence he removed to go into the land of the Philistines, and passed through Samaria. At that time certain priests, desirous to show their valor, were slain in battle, for that they went out to fight advisedly.
And
Slack yourself. For that they went out to fight unadvised.
at that time, certain priests, desirous to show their valor, were slain in battle. Because they never fight and nobody didn't tell them to fight. Right? So Judas,
So Judas turned to Azotus in the land of the Philistines. And when he had pulled down their altars and burned their carved images with fire, and spoiled their cities, he returned into the land of Judea.
yeah, man, go on the road and kill out people and take over there and freeze people. Same thing will be happening in Christ's time. All right. Let's take a quick little peek at where did we read it again in Revelation. Revelation what again? What was it called? 13. See if I can find it. Or was it? Huh? Christ, when Christ was on Mount Zion, hold on. Revelation, verse. All right, go to Revelation 7 and 17. Okay, from 16.
Revelation chapter 7 and verse 16. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto the living fountains of water, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes.
All right, so that's what? Victory again over enemies. Just like in the time of Maccabeus. So all through the Bible is we, Esau, just like the most I tell the story from the time of the birth of Esau Jacob, two nation in your womb struggling. Guess what? Nothing changed. Nothing has changed. All right. Questions? Any questions?
concern
Mhm.
in Joshua.
That's right. The Maccabees
That you want the specific time of Maccabees? That is noted.
first.
Notice this.
Right. That, you can ask me that after. I don't want to change the tone. Understand me? Get me?
Okay.
You can ask me after class. If you want. All right. So with that, we say Amadem, which means to stand. We do a salute. We do some prayers after. Courteous salute to the teacher, Madam Shabbat, Madam Arak. Yahweh Shabbat. Courteous salute to the sisters, turn and face the sisters, Madam Shabbat, Madam Barak, Yahweh Shama, Anatan Basham Yoshai. But that was a Yad Matam means unknown classes.